already know what narrative cycles are. You can feel them right here. Right here. It's when you feel that combat encounter coming before your DM just routinely throws it at you. It's when shopping episodes in your favorite actual play show just seem to come with feelings of safety that everyone takes for granted. I don't think this is granted. And it's when you play your character as if puzzle levels are just a normal part of life and adventure. But alright, you lethally curious fuck, I'll explain further. Narrative cycles are all those minigames that your voluptuous little storytelling or role-playing games are made out of. Sometimes you use them purposefully, but other times you're falling victim to them, you ignore and fart. Examples, Eve! This is a video essay! Give us examples! Roleplay, combat, puzzle is perhaps the most commonly advised and executed split of narrative cycles. And it's there to ensure that everyone's entertained all the fucking time. But what if we want more? We're such masochistic sluts! What the fuck do narrative cycles actually do? They immerse the participants in a shared state of understanding so that their individual contributions are anchored to a cohesive center point and formatted in a similar enough way for it to all be considered part of the same line?
Thing.
Part of the same thing. They basically put everyone on the same page. So let's take Grandpa's trusty old RP / combat / puzzle example. It breaks the experience down into 3 separate minigames that are of the easiest for every typical player to grasp. When you're using it, you're breaking the experience down into those 3 minigames so that at every segment, the players know what to expect, what is expected of them, and how to digest everything your world throws at them. Wait! Now, just because you're using that narrative cycle doesn't mean your game is as boring as all those grown-ups. A narrative cycle, when used vigilantly, allows you to subvert all the expectations that it brings. You might decide that this wrinkly-ass narrative cycle is perfect for you just because you plan to slap a subversion pill on it and empower her to nympho her way through the care home. It's like going for a water park instead of a barn because it makes your successful arsony that much more impactful. Think puzzle that can only be solved through mindless savagery. Your mama. Combat with such futility to it that RP becomes the only escape. A shopping session ruined by the most overpowered batty daddy ever. Or any other F-tier example. I'm not here to do your fucking job for you, sheeple. Point being, an old narrative cycle does not equal overdone outcomes. But what if that narrative cycle, the expectations it communicates, and the mindsets it puts people into just aren't suitable for your game? The mindsets that unite people over a traditional puzzle segment or a combat encounter may distract from your never-done-before slash of life experience. So what to do? 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 First and foremost, yes, you can freeball it as well. You don't need to think about narrative cycles or plan it beforehand. And while we're at it, you don't need to learn music theory either, you rock star. But whether you like it or not, the people around your table are always forming unspoken bonds around what they think is wanted of them, what is allowed for them to do, or even what they think would be cool. By using narrative cycles, you're making sure those bonds are made in the right ways and at the right times. So grab your own hypothetical piece of paper and let's cook our own batch. You already know a basic bit about your world, its concepts and its themes. Will the participants have a more fulfilling experience if they navigate certain parts in certain ways, with certain things in mind or at a certain pace? How will or can they have fun? Try to identify the most important and/or frequent of those. Now take each of those different parts and ask 1. how can the fuckers best interact with it? And 2, how do I show them that? I can't help you too much with the first one because I'm not an abusive parent. But think of the concepts that'll be explored and decide the most interesting ways to digest or portray them. Nihil can shine through centuries of kingdom politics, or through RP between interesting characters stuck in the mundane necessities of their lives. You're not asking how they can beat the game, just what mindset they need to have to enjoy progressing through it. And to help you with the second question, this can be as simple as, oh, I'll have a talk with them before each bit. Or as complex as, I have planned the game in its every session for this one to fall under a full moon, when my players will be turning into werewolves just in time to enjoy the part of the game that can only be enjoyed by literal wolf minds. But most commonly it comes through level design hints and cues. I feel like I used the word example quite a lot this video. Let me level up my video essayism with some synonyms. So let me run you through an instance of this by showing you how I made the narrative cycles for my actual play show, Logos. Logos, the audience interactive sandbox horror campaign, only on the Eve of Untimes channel. When I ask myself what pace, mood, or mindset Logos should be approached with, most traditional divisions feel way too restricting. The sandbox nature of the game means that I try not to design any level based on a default way it should be approached, so uniting players around the tone of their solutions is defenestrated. But there is something in Logos that can really make or break the game, and that is unforgiving danger. So it'd make most sense if I partitioned the game based on the level of danger present at each segment, and communicate accordingly how the players can avoid bad frustration. So with that, I've done the first step of the recipe, and I've ended up with 2 parts to my game that I like to call safe and unsafe, or in other words, inside or outside. So the second step in the recipe begs me to ask, how are the safe parts best explored? How are the unsafe sections best explored? So when it comes to unsafe, I want their explorations to be cautious, I want them to be attentive, and I want them to mind their mortality. The world will not pace itself with the players, and if left unchecked, will turn their story into one about the suffering that it can bring. But when it comes to safe parts, I want a level of contrast to that may, for most in-game characters, bring moments of reconsideration and reflection, not only about the self, but about the world around them. A pace that really helps them reconsider all that went down in the blink of an eye, and attempt to reason and brace themselves into going outside again. Now at this point in the recipe, I know where I stand, so I can plan how I'll invite my group to that same mindset too. For Logos, that started with pre-game prep, me telling them that care and attention is needed to not lose all freedom to the chaos of this alien universe. Then came the in-game encounters, that despite being a sandbox had been offset in a way that made it likely that the first ones aren't going to be game-ending, but hint that most others can be. Won't bore you with the details, but how I narrate, the details I mentioned, the system itself, it's all designed to show that most freedoms can only be earned through the sacrifice of adaptation. You pace yourself between inside and outside, and find some compromise for one to intrude on the other if both are to continue existing. Inside versus outside, shelter versus the open, self versus the world. Oh, that part almost felt like a TTRPG video. Too fucking far. You know all that shit that I taught you about narrative cycles? Well, each part of a narrative cycle can have a little narrative cycle in it. Example? You might want your game played very differently when it's in-game day versus when it's in-game night. Now, during either of those super different parts, you might want to cycle between RP Combat Puzzle. And that's the video. You really don't need to put up with this, you know? RPGology is supposed to be kinder and actually makes sense. There's Matt Mercer's guides on Geek and Sundry, Seth Skorikowski, Matt Colville, Ginny D. Who am I missing? Where the fuck did I put my script?